And I saw that once you start hearing them, it's not just one. It's probably an infestation by that point. Yeah. Because mice are small. For you to be hearing them chatter and run around, like there's a lot of them there. I got tired. And then I remembered, I don't really want to go back there. Yeah. Like rest is not really rest, because I don't know what's gonna happen. Like they jumped on me. Now what are they gonna bite me? Like what's next? You know? I was in a season where it felt very low, and I just didn't understand what was going on or why. But when I got to the end, it was really like, oh, that's why all of that happened to me. Yeah. Like this all makes sense now.
This episode is coming out, but today is Juneteenth.
It is.
And there's something about Juneteenth that it elicits two feelings for me. One, I'm disgusted by how it's been commercialized.
Okay.
Like the Juneteenth, like paper plates, Party City. Party City has started selling Juneteenth paraphernalia. Yeah. It's kind of gross. But at the same time, like you also enjoy the blackness of it.
You do, yeah.
We were walking at Eager Park, and Eager Park is a park in Baltimore in the on the east side. Yeah. Very close to Johns Hopkins, if you're familiar with that. And they were having a Juneteenth celebration. And I just thought it was like really cool to see all the black people, and it was like I don't think I saw a single person that wasn't of color.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's a special day. I mean, I do understand like the commercialization. It's just of holidays, just in general. Yeah. But I think it is a great day because it commemorates when the slaves of Texas, right, were finally free. So everyone was free.
You paid attention in history class.
I didn't learn this in history class. That's the sad thing. I learned this on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I learned this on Twitter. But anyway, like now it's a thing. People celebrate it, and companies, we both had off today. Yeah. And it was special. Like just walking around there, it was like just kids playing in the water, like spoken word. Yeah. We're black. It's like the black spoken word artist was like rhyming everything with black, like be black, don't be whack. It's an attack. Like it's just like all this like craziness. But it was good. It was awesome. And I think another thing that I really like too, I love seeing the blackness. But I told you as we were walking, like it was kind of just a reminder, like, man, we really are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Like at one point, like all those people gathered at the park. There were young people, there were old people, there were little babies, there was just everyone there. And it's crazy to say, but I'm like, this used to be how it was like at plantations. Like there would be babies there, older people there, just sitting and doing stuff on a plantation. Yeah. And that wasn't even that long ago, which is really scary. Yeah. But anyway,
I was saying like it was within that context. I said it was crazy because like everyone's just having fun. They're just existing.
Exactly.
And that wasn't the case before. Yeah. Like they would have to pretend.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's, I think that the part was so beautiful. It's like, we're not gathering around together to do work. We're not gathering around together to be under someone. We're just gathering together because it's a day that we're celebrating. We're free. We're with each other. It was just great.
It was great.
So, Juneteenth was a win. I loved it so much. I wish they had burgers, but maybe that's a 4th of July thing.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Or maybe it's just your appetite. It has nothing to do with the holiday.
All right. Well, we're here today.
Yeah.
And we are doing something different, I guess, today, right?
Yeah. Today, we're going to tell a story.
A story time.
Yeah.
And what is this story time?
The story, we've kind of thought long and hard about this. Mm-hmm. Or maybe, I don't know. This actually, you came up with the title.
Yeah,
It was called From Mice to Miracles.
Yeah. Like Mice to Men.
Yeah.
But Mice to Miracles.
You mean Boys to Men?
No. Mice to Men.
What's that?
That's a movie, right?
No, it's Of Mice and Men.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Mice and Men. I'm like, wait, what?
Okay, well,
that was a readaptation.
Okay.
I got you. I was picking. I just wanted to make sure though. I was like, maybe I don't know something.
No, that was me. Okay.
All right. From Mice to Miracles.
You know, I don't watch movies.
I know.
I'm not a movie person.
I know.
I don't like them that much. I like them, but not on my free time.
This is gonna make it worse, but it's a book.
Oh my gosh, it's a book.
Yeah, and don't worry, I haven't read it, but I just know it's one of those things that kind of comes up in pop culture. It's like one of those literary.
It's got to be. They made it into a movie. By now.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
Anyway, that's what we're talking about today. It's a story time. What like? Okay, before we dive into the story, what does this story represent for you?
This story is a story of, I don't know, pain and triumph. Like, I feel like I was in a season where it felt very low and I just didn't understand what was going on or why. But when I got to the end, it was really like, oh, that's why all of that happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, this all makes sense now. And like, it really is like God gets the glory for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's that. Like, I just feel like I had a huge triumph in this story.
Yeah.
But it was still very hard.
Yeah.
And I still have reactions to it today.
So where do you want to start? Paint the picture. Where does your story of tragedy and triumph begin?
Yeah, that's great. So it starts like with triumph.
Yeah.
So it starts with triumph. Brian and I had just gotten engaged. So you had proposed to me at a beautiful park in Baltimore City that we love, that we had great times at.
Was it Guilford Gardens?
Sherwood Gardens.
Sherwood.
It's in Guilford.
It's in Guilford.
But Sherwood Gardens.
I don't know why I called it Guilford Gardens.
Yeah, I mean,
alliteration.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. But yeah, we got engaged. She proposed. He brought my sisters, my friends, and he hired a camera person, one of our friends' dads, to shoot. And it was just very special. Like, first, you took me around to all the places that we had been on dates, and you had me take a picture and do like a little video of like, what are we doing here? Where? It was just super special. It was like a little scavenger hunt. And then the last place was the park.
Yeah, Sherwood Gardens.
Yeah, and everybody kept asking me like, did you know? Did you know? How did you not know he was doing all this stuff? I was like, I feel like I was thinking possibly, but then I think when you said, oh, we got to make sure that we get home in time, I was like, oh, okay. If he's going to propose, surely we cannot do this in 20 minutes. So you were saying we got to get home by a certain time.
Yeah.
And like, that time was like 20 minutes away. So I'm just like, okay, he's not proposing then if we have to be home by a certain time. Anyway, he did it and I didn't know. I was very surprised. I was crying. I have crazy crying pictures that are actually really cute, but it was special. And then after that, we went to our mentor's house and you again surprised me because you were like, this is it.
I'm like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, if I'm going to propose, I'm going to propose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Thank you, babe.
Yeah. I had to get that off my chest. Because some people don't be.
So, went to a mentor's house and he was saying it was just going to be a small dinner that they wanted to do.
They were in on it too.
And they were in on it.
I coordinated with the Swains.
Yeah.
They're amazing people.
They are great.
I love them. If they ever see this, just know you guys have a special place in our hearts.
Absolutely. They did our premarital.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
And for those who don't know, premarital is the thing you do before you get married. It is an important step to surface any reason you should not get together.
Right.
Like, you know how they say, is there any reason this man or woman premarital should be the place?
Yeah, that actually gets exposed.
Where that actually happens.
So you don't walk down the aisle and then have your dad do that.
Yeah.
But no, that's true. And I heard like some people say premarital felt like they didn't need it or it wasn't that great. But ours was amazing to the fact that one, we knew the couple. We'd done a small group with them before. Yep. But also they had something like this test that we took.
Yeah.
And it like was a really in-depth test that like asked us questions about finances, relationships, our family background, kids, past experiences, hardships, communicate. It was like all the questions.
Yeah.
And then it like, at the end, we got our results and we were able to see side to side our results. Yeah. And then it like highlighted those weak areas that could be a cause of concern if we were to get married. Yeah. And how we can like work through that.
Yeah.
So
that was a really good test.
And then we were able to like hone in on the things that felt like more of weaker areas for us. Mm-hmm. We talked about our strengths, but like mostly about the weaker areas.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so that happened at their house.
Not in the same day, though.
Oh, yeah. Premarital was after the proposal.
Yeah. We're just giving context for why we had the engagement party at their house.
Yes. And that was great because then all my family was there. Like, it wasn't just my sisters and my friends. It was like my parents, your parents, my cousins, aunts, the rest of the friends, church family, pastors. It was great. It was amazing. Like I say that was like one of the best days of my life. Like top 3 at this point. Yeah. And it was just so special. And there were sparklers coming in. That was cool, babe.
That wasn't my idea.
Whose idea was that?
I don't know.
Wow.
It was probably it was Morgan, Madison, or Dawn. I'm not sure. They thought of everything.
They did.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Anywho. That was great.
Or Elsa or Rachel. any number of your great friends.
Yeah. They're awesome.
Yeah.
But so it was that. And I was like,
so that's the triumph portion.
That's the
You've
triumph.
Talked a lot about triumph.
Yeah.
Where does
you gotta set up the triumph. You gotta share the triumph because when the fall comes, it comes.
Okay.
So it was great, right? So I felt like I was on cloud 9. And so much so that, went home that night and, was on the phone like, I can't wait to just be with you, just doing stuff because you just proposed. So you just love each other. Mm-hmm. So I woke up the next day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a shower. So I go to the bathroom, get in the shower, doing all the things. And I turn and I look at the tub and I look down and I see this little pellet thing, right? It's like 2 of them or something. Ew. It's like this little, I'm so sorry. It's this little pellet thing. And I'm just like, what is that? Like, and I'm just like, surely that cannot be what I think it is. Like, I was just like, maybe it's just a piece of lint. I literally thought it was a piece of lint from like my washcloth that got wet and just balled up in the corner. I was just like, okay, maybe it's that.
You came up with like a little backstory.
Yeah. I did. And I was like, okay, like I'm not going to think too much of it. I'm on cloud 9. Life is good. So I get out the shower, put on clothes and I go back in, I spray it down, take it, put it in the trash. And then I go on about my day. Mm-hmm. So I just tried to keep it in the back of my mind. The next day, again, I wake up and I go to the kitchen, and now this time I see it in the corners on the counter, and then I'm just like, okay, like this cannot be a coincidence. I don't think this is lint anymore, So I'm just like, okay, I'm getting a little freaked out. Like I don't see many, I just see like here and there. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to call maintenance because I just want to get this under control. If it is a mouse, like I just want it to go away because I'm just like, I know they multiply really quickly. So let me just get it under control now and whatever. Yeah. They're not answering me.
Have you ever dealt with any of those problems?
So before? I did once before. I dealt with a mouse in that apartment before. And it was one mouse and it took about 2 weeks to get it. And it was terrifying, like the worst experience ever. Like mice are like my biggest fear. Oh, like wow. if you want to get me, you use a mouse.
Wow.
Like it's that type of thing. And and they were really responsive. They were so helpful and so responsive. So I was just like,
the first time around?
The first time, the maintenance people.
Okay.
So I was like, when I call them again, they're going to be responsive and great, but they never answered me. And I call
This is the second time after the first time and they were very responsive.
Yes.
This time around, they weren't responsive.
They were not. So I tried to call them. They didn't answer. I left voicemails. And this was over a period of a few days. It was starting to freak me out because I'm just like, as the days go by, like they can be reproducing or doing something, you know? So I felt like time was of the essence. So yeah, that was hard. So I think like maybe a week later, it may have been a week later. Yeah, I was still seeing them around. Yeah. And I remember one time I was coming back home and I was driving and it was like late. And I just heard in my spirit, like, it's just like, you need to worship. Like that was like so clear to me as I was like driving back home. Wow. So I get out and I go into the apartment. I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to worship and I'm just going to bring God into this place and just pray. I had the Bible open.
I don't think I ever heard this part of the story.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it's real. Like I had the Bible open. I was turning to pages. I was underlining things. I was just proclaiming things. It was such a powerful experience. And I know God was there. It was so special. So then the next day after that, I'm just like, you know what? It's done. Like God got me. Like I prayed, I worshiped.
I'm good.
I worshiped. It's over, right? Like God took care of it. And I wake up in the morning. I'm just like, man, I had such a great time with God. I feel so much more at peace. Like I feel good. I'm going to make breakfast and make some coffee. Like, so I was just so excited for that. So I turn and I go into the kitchen and I kid you not, right in front of the coffee where I was going to make coffee, there is a huge like layer. And when I tell you a layer of like pellets everywhere. And it like covers the counter. So much, it's almost like someone's like, they spilled rice. They were like, no, it's spilled rice. Yes, babe.
That is a great description.
Yeah. And it was just unnerving to know that they were on my counter. There's no way there's just one mouse. And it was everywhere. So I was freaking out. I called you. Yeah. And what was I like on the phone?
You were freaking out. Like I'd never heard you like that. But anyway, you sounded stressed.
You were telling me document everything. Yeah. But we had forgotten to document that. Yeah. But you did clean it up for me because I was like, I cannot clean this up. So you did it for me. Yeah. After that, I just felt very unnerved. I didn't know what to do. I called again. They didn't answer, maintenance. And I left a voicemail. And I was just like, man, like I emailed as well. Yeah. Because I was just like trying to get someone. Because I'm like, this is a bigger issue than I think we realize. So then a few days later, right, like we're hanging out. We're in my apartment. And we're like sitting. And I just remember hearing like, squeak, squeak. Oh my gosh. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, at first, I think the first time I didn't hear it. And then it happened a second time that I actually heard.
Yes.
Because before I was like, she's just a little unnerved.
Yeah.
Like, perhaps paranoid. I was just like, that's probably just like the floorboards creaking, somebody across the room or whatever. But the second time, I definitely heard it.
Yeah. And then not only was it squeak, but we heard running. Like we heard sounds.
Yeah.
And like you got up and you went over to the cupboards. Yeah. And you were like opening them up because you're like, where are they coming from? Because you could hear it. Yeah. So you could hear the sound of the squeaking. You could hear the running around. Yeah. And like that was freaking me out. Yeah. And like it was terrifying. Yeah. It's terrifying.
Yeah. So the mouse thing was very shocking.
Yes.
Especially how bad it was.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. That actually is very true because I did keep a very clean home. And a lot of people complimented me whenever they came over. Yeah. So, yeah,
I got you.
Thank you. I'm not dirty. Anyway, still hadn't reached back out. And I'm hearing them run. I'm seeing it covered, counters covered. I'm seeing just things everywhere, right? And like, I'm just like, okay, like, and I Googled it. and I saw that once you start hearing them, it's not just one. It's probably an infestation by that point. Yeah. Because mice are small. For you to be hearing them chatter and run around, like there's a lot of them there. Yeah. Which was disgusting for me. So anyway, I kept holding on because I'm just like, you know what, God, like God is good. He got me. He told me to worship. And he took away my problems. And at that point, I still hadn't seen any of them physically. I hadn't seen any of them. I just saw like that they were around. And I just remember, like, I think that night, like after, or the morning after, like hearing them or whatever, like I just had, I woke up and I was just like, okay, well, if there's some there again, because you cleared off the counter, then I know we have a problem. Yeah. So when I woke up again, it was not nearly as much, but there were some back. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, so we have a problem. And I just remember just like just bawling. Yeah. And just like, God, like, why are you've abandoned me. Like, I remember saying that. Like, and that feels like extra, right? But I'm just like, no, like, you've abandoned me. Like, you know, my deepest fear is like mice. And like, for this to be a thing, I'm just like, why aren't you protecting me? Like, you told me to worship. I worshiped. I said prayers of protection. I like was quoting scripture. I'm just like doing all these things in the Bible, you know, quoting scripture, praising God and worshiping. I'm just like, but it's still happening. Wow. Like, I felt like I wasn't being cared for. Yeah. It was almost just like, God, I'm like so down and sad and scared. It feels like so easy for you to just remove these mice. Like, why is this still a thing? Yeah. And it's kind of like, in the back of my mind, I was also thinking like, okay, well, like God is ultimate at the end of the day, and Satan can only do what God allows. Like, even when you look through the story of Job, like,
that's what I was just thinking about.
Yeah.
And another aspect of that, like, this is because we kind of went through it at the same time. Like, me just, you know, feeling like sorry for everything that you're going through, and I couldn't really help. Yeah. But at some point, you know, this is what happens when people are kind of like, they're just an audience to someone else's like struggle or pain. Yeah. You think like, man, what's the big deal? Like, why is she so sad all the time? Yeah. Like, we'd be hanging out, and then you would just kind of like zone out and become like very like remorseful. Like, you wouldn't cry or anything, but you'd just be like, I'm like, she's not here. I was like, everything okay? Yeah. And it was, you would open up and share that it was the mouse.
The weight of that. And I think that another good point is like, everyone has different thresholds for pain and for hurt. So for me, mice I don't like them. Like, they remind me of just like, they're just dirty. They get everywhere. They have no manners, especially those. They did not care about my pristine home. They were just everywhere. And I just don't like them. But for you, maybe you're not as afraid of that. Maybe that would have.
I don't know. Like, I guess that's kind of like that feeling like where if you're not going through something, your mindset is like, what's the big deal? Like, we're not in the apartment. Yeah. We're having fun. Yeah. We're together. Like, why are you sad? And true. I think one of the things that taught me, and like even just interacting with someone who's like completely different from you, is just like you don't need to directly understand someone's plight or pain to empathize with them.
That's very true.
So I don't know. I was getting emotional just like hearing like how you felt in that moment, and I just didn't understand to the depth at that time to which that had like bothered you and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah.
Thanks, babe. Yeah. No, it was really hard. I really felt abandoned, like uncared for. And I did say that, and I prayed about that. And pretty much where the straw broke the camel's back.
The straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes. So it was the night before Thanksgiving. And even during this time too, like, there's a lot going on. We had just gotten engaged. Yeah. You were in the process of purchasing another property.
Yep.
And then I was also in the process of a new job.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of transition happening at this time.
Yeah.
Right? Like there were a lot of good things on the horizon for us.
Yeah.
Marriage, a new job, and a beautiful home that we never thought that we could ever get. Right? Yeah. So it was the night before Thanksgiving, and I go to sleep, and it's like 4 or 5 a.m., and I'm in the bed. And I'm just sleeping, and I just start hearing like, I hear like crumples of something. And I'm just like, what is that sound? And then I just feel like fur on my leg. I feel fur on like fur on my leg. And with the sound.
Babe, I did not know that.
Babe, you didn't know that?
No. I thought that you were under your covers and that you felt the weight of something on top of your covers.
No.
I did not know.
I felt fur.
I did not know that.
I felt fur on my leg.
That's
so
crazy.
I screamed really badly. I jumped up and I hit my knee on the door. And when I like shook the covers out, like I shook them, and I saw 2 mice running. And I was like, oh my gosh, that mouse was on me while I was sleeping. And it ran away. Like there were like 2, it went 2 different directions. One went this way, one went in the closet. And I was like terrified.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Till this day, still, like, you've seen it before. Like I'll be sleeping, and if something like touches my leg, I will scream.
Yeah.
I will like scream because it's like trauma.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
So that happened, and I woke and I couldn't stop shaking. So I'm in the bed, I'm shaking, I'm crying, I'm just like mortified. And this mouse, like it runs into the closet, and then it like peeks its head out at me. And then like I yell at it. You know, I said some things.
You had some choice words.
I had some choice words for the mouse. I say a few things, and it runs back in, and it runs out again. It looks at me. It's like staring dead at me. And then I like shoo it away and say stuff, and then runs out, and then it runs back and it looks at me. And at that point, I'm like, okay.
That happened like 3 times?
That happened like 3 times.
That's crazy.
And at this point, I'm like,
That's wild. That's mad disrespectful.
That's real mad disrespectful.
Mad disrespectful.
At that point, I'm like, okay, this is definitely spiritual. This is definitely an attack. And I wasn't seeing it like that at first, but I'm like, first of all, like, and I was telling this to my friend, and she was like, that's not like typical mouse behavior. Like, for one, it's like, okay, either you're very comfortable, like you've just been roaming around at night, like this is your home now, for you to like be on a human is weird. Yeah. And then for you to like run into the closet and then keep looking at me is strange as well. So I was like, this is definitely spiritual. And like during the night as well, like I was having a lot of really bad dreams, a lot of nightmares. It was just, it was just too much. Yeah. So, and it was Thanksgiving Day at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, you know what? God has not given me a spirit of fear, you know? I just said that, and I like got in the shower, took a shower, came back out. I had to get something from the closet. Terrified me to do that, but I did it, and I just left. I just left the house. Yeah. And we went to Thanksgiving, and
we went to my aunt's house.
Yeah, first we went to my parents' house.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, we went there, and then we went to your aunt's house, and I didn't really want to talk about it at the time. Yeah. Like it was just,
again, this was like another moment where I feel like at some point, like I saw that you checked out. You weren't having a good time at some point. And I didn't connect the dots. Because one, you have been up for a while.
Yeah, because that happened at like 4 or 5 a.m.
4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you really had been up since then. And to put further context on this, Deandra loves sleep.
I love sleep.
She loves sleep. We're complete opposites. I'm a night owl. I don't know what the opposite of a night owl is, but you're that
early
thing.
Bird.
You're an early bird?
Yeah.
Is it that you're an early bird or you just love sleep?
Both.
Okay.
I can be an early bird too.
Okay. You waking up early, but I think you love sleep.
I do love sleep.
She has to get her 8+ hours.
8.8 hours according to Rise app.
Yeah. Shout out. Don't give them free press. Sorry. At some point, like I saw that you kind of checked out. But looking back, you kind of explained to the car, like, listen, I know that I seem like really cheery at some point, but I'm sleep deprived. My apartment is infested, and I really don't like the fact that, that I can't just go back home. And
yeah, that is true. I did, because like after a while you can only fake for so long.
Yeah,
like you can only act like everything is good for so long. And I like tried to put on a great face, because it was Thanksgiving. I was with family, and part of me was enjoyed it. Like I did have a good time until like I got tired, and then I remembered, oh, I don't really want to go back there.
Yeah.
Like rest is not really rest, because I don't know what's gonna happen. Like they jumped on me. Now what are they gonna bite me? Like what's next? So at that point I'm just like, okay, what am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? And I don't know. We were still, like not married, so I didn't want to stay with you. I mean, I guess I could, but I didn't really want to do that. So I ended up reaching out to a friend, and I ended up staying at their place, and that was so great, because you know what? Community is so important. Like just sharing that with someone, and like sharing that with friends, and they prayed and we prayed, and I felt loved. They gave me new clothes. Like it was just amazing. And I needed that. And I think sometimes we try and go through things alone, whether we're like embarrassed or we just feel like we should be able to handle something. But sometimes when you share it and like have someone help you, and they couldn't do anything. The mice were still there.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's another aspect of this that I think was like really good, is the fact that you shared it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I feel like looking back, like I would have been embarrassed, like I had done something wrong.
Right.
Or like, all right, like this is my problem. I'm not about to tell someone that I have a mouse infestation.
Yeah.
But I believe that you had such a firm foundation of friendship that wasn't even a factor. And you understood their character. They're not about to like clown you or weaponize that sort of information. They prayed for you. They gave you a spot. And that really does like highlight the value of like good community. There are some friends that you don't want to share anything because it's just going to become a rolling joke.
Yeah. That's true. No, that's true. That's true.
You're just like, nah, I'm not sharing this with this. Yeah. Like, it's going to become a joke.
Yeah.
They deflect in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's two different things. I think it's one aspect of like the value and importance of your friendships and who you're around, but also the value and importance of humility and not being too prideful about your situation. Because I think that keeps you from being healed sometimes or helped. Is like, I'm good, I can deal with this on my own, or shamed, this is shameful. Like, why am I doing that? Means that I'm this or that. So I'm not going to say anything about it. I'll just deal with it on my own. So, so that was probably like the hardest part. This is like the tragedy portion.
So if you were to say what you landed on through the tragedy portion, what did you land on? Because we haven't even gotten to like triumph, which I guess we'll talk about in part 2. But like, what did you land on?
That's hard. I think I landed on the power of not going through things by yourself. Like, you can't go through seasons and hardships alone. You just can't. I mean, you can, but it sucks. Like, I can't imagine, like, if I'm trying to keep this a secret, I'm like, okay, like, let me go get a hotel room.
Yeah.
And then that's, like, expensive. And I'm in the room by myself. And I feel totally alone in this. But the fact that I was just like, you know what? Like, let me share this with friends. And they gave me a place to stay and gave me clothes. I was like, hey, you can stay here again if you want. Like, and I was able to share it, like, we had conversations. We didn't even just only talk about that. We talked about other stuff that was fun and enjoyable for me, you know, like, so.
And I think that's a hallmark of a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't dwell on the circumstance. They even, dare I say, made you forget about it.
For a little bit.
While,
yeah, I agree.
Cool.
So yeah, I guess I landed on never go through tough seasons by yourself.
And it's not my story, but again, I would say this like as someone who had to watch you go through a hard thing. I think the thing that I learned is that the importance of being present and not feeling as though you had to understand everything someone is going through in order to be supportive, be present, listen, and also carry with you a sensitivity of the totality of their circumstances. You know? Being insensitive to that would have been me being offended every time you weren't like joyous or happy, or, you know, just feeling like I saw like the ebb and flows of your mood because you were going through a difficult thing. And I didn't even, because I was just like, you know, like, I mean, it happened in the past. It's in the past. Like that's my mindset, which probably isn't healthy. But like just learning to like really understand that like for some people, like the past can be so present. That's the best way to describe it. And you have to be mindful of that, like as people are going through something. Like just because you wouldn't react that way, just because you wouldn't feel that way, doesn't mean that like you should project that onto what someone else is going through.
Agreed.
And stuff. So that's how to be supportive and a good friend or spouse. 101.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. Yep. That's part one.
Part one.
The tragedy.
For part two.
If you, what was Carl Lentz saying? He was saying like, if you stayed for the bad part, you owe it to yourself to see how the story ends.
If you stayed for the bad part.
If you were there for.
You're definitely
on the thing. Yeah. Pretty much saying like you owe it to yourself to hear how the rest of the story goes, because it's a good one.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe this video if you found value or enjoyed it. And yeah, this is Where We Landed podcast.